TDS is an old game, for Roblox standards at least. The past couple of years, we've seen new games pop up pretty recently and completely explode in popularity, for better or for worse, while the older games died down, but TDS is still kicking. It actually just reached its 5th birthday. Editor's note, I'm a little bit late to this, but it's alright. And me personally, I think the tower that best represents TDS's overall history is the Scout.
Hi.
The Scout has been with TDS since the very beginning, along with these other towers. Not UT Commander Power Hour, you weren't in alpha testing. And I think the Scout perfectly encapsulates TDS as a whole, because he isn't just a tower, he is the tower. He's used as an icon to represent TDS towers as a whole. He's also a plushie, along with Commander, and is featured in the official TikToks. Also, fun fact, Scout is the only tower in the game to be canonically useless. Yeah, even Scout can't believe it. Alright, now actually into the timeline, starting from pre-alpha, first 7 towers have been created. Now, as you know, ever since 2019, when the game first released, TDS has really updated a lot to the point where if you showed someone for 2019 who was playing the original game, but the game was like in 2024, they probably wouldn't even believe it. It looks so drastically different. Which is why we're not actually able to see the Scout, how it was back then, like originally. But since people are really nostalgic over the game in its classic era, there are genuinely so many recreations of the game when I was younger, it's actually kind of crazy. One of these recreations is Retro TDS. It's a version of TDS that's reminiscent of the game during its pre-mega update period. At level 0, the Scout costs $250, deals 1 damage every 1.05 seconds, has a range of 9, dealing 0.95 DPS. The level 1 Scout costs $100, increases its range to 11. Scout's level 2 upgrade costs $200, increases its range to 13, and gives some hidden detection. At level 3, Scout finally receives some changes to his DPS. For 500 big ones, Scout deals 1 more damage, shoots every 0.7 seconds, and gets 14 range, dealing a total DPS of 2.87. Level 4 costs $1,000, increases the damage to 3, shoots every 0.55 seconds, has a total DPS of 5.45. And finally, at level 5 for $1,500, Scout deals 1 more damage, gets 1 more range, to get a final DPS of 7.27. Now if you can tell, this is bad, believe it or not, and I'll prove it right now. So, in the original version of TDS, when you first started playing the game would just give you 270 coins for free, which you could spend on both Sniper and Soldier. Sniper at that time wasn't a starter tower, it was a coin tower. And both of these towers, which you could literally buy as soon as you started playing the game, were both better than Scout, just had better DPS, especially Soldier. Scout was literally getting outclassed the moment you started playing the game. That's actually crazy. Which is why I don't think it's a big surprise that Scout was buffed in the following mega update. I know that looking at stats is really boring, and since I don't want to waste your time, I'm not going to read the entire stats to you again, I'm just going to read the changes that Scout got in its buff. Instead of its pitiful range of 9, the Scout actually started off with 12 range, and reaches 18 range at max level. The range gets increased next, which is huge for Scout, meaning it deals 3 damage at level 3, 4 damage at level 4, and, you guessed it, 6 damage at level 5. This increased damage does take a hit in the fire rate, however, meaning instead of increasing its fire rate like how it used to do at level 3, the Scout will continue to shoot at 1.05 seconds. It's not a big deal, however, because fire rate upgrades at level 4 and 5 stay the same. Now, golden skins do get added in this update, but Scout doesn't get one. Also, they don't give buffs, they're literally just skins. They still cost 50k though. Scout's golden skin wouldn't be added until the Halloween update, which was the same version of the game where buffs were added to the game for golden skins, meaning that the Scout actually had a use for high levels. I'm not going to read out the stats, but I'll show them to you, and read out the actually important parts. The Golden Scout gets damage increased like crazy, dealing 24 damage at max, and a fire rate of 0.55, for a DPS of 43.64 max level. The craziest thing about this, however, is that the Golden Scout literally cost the same amount of cash as a normal Scout, even though it did 4 times the DPS. And they're both already extremely cheap. It was just absolutely crazy. Which is why I don't think it's any surprise that literally on the exact same day that the Golden Scout was added, he got nerfed. That would make him more expensive, but by just nerfing his damage. The monsters weren't done yet though. That foreshadowed price increase finally happened, making Golden Scout almost double the price he used to. Also, cool fun fact, the Golden Scout was originally meant to be an event tower, but when paired up with an exclusive name tag. I might just be looking into this too much, and it was just like a random idea I thought about beefing Discord though. The next change to Scout was at release version 1.7. Scout was nerfed so that his range wouldn't get increased by 1 at level 3, and so it would just stay the same. I don't know what the balancers were cooking at the time, but alright. My guess is that this was actually a nerf to the Golden Scout. But out of all the nerfs that could have been done to the Golden Scout, nerfing its range at level 3 by 1 is weird. I don't know. I tried researching this and couldn't find any reason to why they would do this, so I'm just gonna say that the Scout like randomly got worse eyesight or something. Scout wasn't changed again until hardcore testing, where we see some pretty massive changes actually. But shortly, the Scout was changed to be super cheap, but it was also nerfed at 10 levels this change. Meaning the Scout was even worse for new players during early game, dealing a pitiful 0.65 DPS when first placed. Golden Scout was also obviously affected by this, being cheaper but worse overall. Also, there's a funny typo on the wiki's update log. Scouting vest, not scouting. Can you tell I've been working on this video for a while? But the balances weren't done yet. After Frieza was nerfed to be actually useless, Scout wasn't the worst tower anymore, meaning that he could be nerfed as much as possible, and he still would compare to how toxic Freezer was.
Freezer, please, help me.
Alright, I'm obviously joking, but in the overall update, Scout got nerfed again. Not to its earlier levels, but to its later ones, especially to its new max level, level 4. Yeah, they decided to remove a level from Scout, and also a ton of other beginner towers, which I honestly like. Similarly to how cool it was for Engineer to have 6 levels when it first dropped, I think slowly increasing the amount of levels that the tower has is kinda cool. It also makes implementing your new skins easier because there are less upgrades, which is always nice. Golden Scout was still pretty good at this time, but it was still overshadowed by Gladiator for speedrunning and Hidden Wave. And then, Scout wasn't changed for another year, and finally he received some well-deserved buffs during the Solar Eclipse update. All of his levels except for level 0 got buffed, making Scout a lot more viable for new players. These changes also obviously advanced Golden Scout, shaking up the meta a bit, making Golden Scout way more similar to Gladiator for early game. Next up is Entity Systems update, where the rate of fire bug was kinda fixed, just buffing Scout a little bit overall, nothing crazy. Now during all of these updates, Golden Scout hasn't had any of its own changes apart from the default Scout. This all changed however in the Golden Perks update. Not only does the update finally unlink Golden skins and their buffs, but also rebalance all of the Golden skins, with Golden Scout being one of them. This update massively buffed the Golden Scout from good to really good, making it a serious contender for the best early game tower at the time. This is actually the current balancing for the Golden Scout right now. It still hasn't changed from this one update, which sounds good, but it's not. I'll get into that later. After the Solar Eclipse update, it really seemed like Scout rose to be an icon for TVS, similarly to Commander and Minigunner, which can be seen best with its inclusion as a mini-boss in Pizza Party, as well as getting a plushie. In the Lunar Overture update, Scout's default model changed, and got some new animations. Cool, I guess. None of the other skins got updated, but it did get 2 new skins with this new style. Basically looks the same anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This really seemed like that after the Solar Eclipse update, Scout finally quieted down and became much more consistent. That is, until the Hunt update. The Scout randomly got a huge buff during this update, completely unannounced if I remember properly. This buff was actually crazy. Default non-Golden Scout now started off with 2 damage at the beginning level, and ended with 20 DPS at max level. In case it doesn't click to you how unbalanced this is, let's take a look at Sniper and the Soldier, similarly to how we saw them at the beginning of this video. The Sniper, who has become the second Solar Tower, costs more, has less DPS than the Scout, and while the Soldier has more DPS than the Scout, max level, it's much better just to max out 2 Scouts rather than to get a Soldier. This buff basically invalidated all of the beginner towers that the new players usually went after, as it was actually nerfing the Golden skin. Now, ever since the Golden perk update, default towers and Golden towers had been separated, so how could this Golden skin get nerfed when it wasn't changed? Because of the damage buff for the default Scout, the Golden Scout was just way too similar to the default Scout, making it not worth obtaining. As well as the fact that other towers were getting buffed, like Shotgunner. The days of Gladiator and Golden Scout meta had been long over at this point. After new towers were buffed in the meta, these towers just lost their place in the meta as a result. The Scout was immediately nerfed 2 days later during the same event, but was still stronger than how it was in the Entity Systems update, for getting nerfed once again, still in the Hunt event, reverting the tower to its same stats after the rate of fire bug was fixed. And finally, in the Mission Quest update, Scout got buffed once again. It was no longer game breaking as early levels due to its 2 damage, but the CPS at max level was increased heavily to 16.23, making the tower a lot more viable for new players. And since April 5th of this year, the Scout has stayed like this. The changes with Scout, not only with his stats, but as an icon for TDS, has really shifted over the years, right along with TDS's changes. And although Scout isn't anything game breaking right now, he's still good, and I appreciate the guy. He's not useless.